to you, Grenada and the rest of the world. It's a rainy Thursday morning here in the Spice Isle, but hey, nice and dry inside here. And what more could a guy ask for? We got you guys out there. In fact, this morning I see that already we have a new winner. Boy, he has been scrambling and scrambling and scrambling, and yes, he's back at the top. Mr. Peter Bishop, first to log on this morning. Congratulations, Pedro. So like I said, it's raining out there this morning. We had quite a bit overnight as well. And hopefully this is going to clear up later on during the day. But in any event, I haven't heard anybody complaining about the rain. You know, we just really needed it. So, and I bet Nawasa is going to be pretty happy to hear that. Anthea Rullo takes second place this morning. And then there's Mr. Kipling Francis sending his blessings. Donna Joseph is there. And Ryan Jabon says, good day, buddy. Showers of blessings. You're absolutely right, Ryan. No complaints whatsoever. My dear friends, let's take a look at what's cooking this morning. We're going to shuffle around the rundown this morning, but we're going to get everything in. First of all, we do have a piece for you, the weekly piece from the National Democratic Congress, their heartbeat. It's captioned, is the MNIB inquiry a sham? Well, after you listen to this, you'll have to decide on your own. Then there's a video I want to show you about beach erosion, which is in full swing at Mount Rodney, and I've got some news for you about that as well. And then we'll go directly to Allan. Don't want to keep him waiting too long. And we're going to wrap it up this morning with the National Report. Okay, so Allan replaces the National Report. There you have your rundown for this morning. So, having got the preliminaries out of the way, just one quick look here to see who else is popping up this morning. Margaret, hi Mags, good morning. And Ryan says a little crackle. Crackle? I don't hear any crackle. Anyhow, let's get down to brass tacks. In January of 2018, a newly built extension to the MNIB's offices at River Road, comprising a sizable section of the administrative office, went up in flames. Around the same time, allegations of serious corruption at the MNIB surfaced. The allegations of corruption at the MNIB included that a very senior manager purchased an MNIB vehicle valued at over $100,000 for less than $30,000. There were also claims of corrupt practices in relation to the purchase of commodities for the MNIB from a company in Miami. Certain of the MNIB senior personnel were alleged to be associated with this Miami entity. Prime Minister Mitchell, who was also responsible for the MNIB, publicly stated that he was shocked by the extent of the wrongdoing that apparently occurred between 2013 and 2018. In so doing, he exposed his own failure as the minister responsible, with wide and far-reaching duties and powers. As a result of the public outcry following the exposure, Ruel Edwards, MNIB's chief executive officer, was transferred to a high-paying assignment at the Ministry of Finance under the same Keith Mitchell, an apparent reward for mismanagement. A few months later, Edwards was fired from that position because of more public outrage. Under mounting pressure, the Prime Minister told the nation that an inquiry would be launched to look into the operations of the MNIB. Instead of a public inquiry under the appropriate law, it was announced that the Office of the Integrity Commission would conduct the inquiry. Many, including the NDC, commented that the Integrity Commission was not the appropriate body to conduct the inquiry. The political affiliation and loyalty to Keith Mitchell of some members of the Integrity Commission and their immediate family is a matter of public record. No amount of explaining and deflection will convince the public at large that Ananda Trotman Joseph, who initially joined the commission as the NNP nominee and as the wife of Dr. Lawrence Joseph, and Rupert Agostini, a longtime member of the executive of the NNP, can be completely impartial in any inquiry in which Mitchell, as the line minister, is up for serious investigation and scrutiny. Added to that, the newest member of the commission, Ms. Jasmine Redhead, appeared on the platform of the NNP during the last elections. The concerns raised here are not personal, but the fact is, public confidence in any inquiry carried out by this commission, public confidence in any inquiry carried out by this commission, some members of which are so closely connected with those under investigation, is bound to be very low. It is quite reasonable for the public to view them as having a conflict of interest, and therefore not suitable to conduct this inquiry. The Integrity in Public Life Law itself defines conflict of interest as, quote, a situation in which a person in public life has a private interest, which is such as to influence or appear to influence the impartial and objective performance of his or her duties, unquote. The terms of reference for the inquiry show that it will cover the period 2012 to 2018. In an August 15, 2018 press statement published by the government of Grenada, the period under investigation was said to be 5 years, from 2013 to 2018. In fact, the Prime Minister expressed dissatisfaction with certain aspects of the MNIB's management over the last 5 years. He said there was no problem before. The question now is, why has the Integrity Commission included the year 2012 in the period under investigation? Is this a red herring to give the public the impression that there was corruption in the MNIB before 2013? Is this a sign of those loyal to Mitchell within the commission already setting up a scenario for him to spread the blame around for his abject failure as the minister responsible for the MNIB? Are they helping Mitchell to get ready to say, are we at fault? He already suggested that he is not prepared to take all the blame. Will the commission disclose any failures of the Prime Minister that it discovers? Then there is the commission's declaration that the inquiry will be held in camera or closed-door sessions. That is, in secret, closed from the public. In a press conference held by the Commission last year at the Public Workers Union building, Chairman Trotman Joseph urged the media and the public to fact-check before speaking on the issue. Madam Chairman, how can the public fact-check a secret? The NDC calls on the Commission to tell the public why an inquiry into corruption and mismanagement of a public asset should be held in secret and the findings remain hidden from the public, to be shared only with the persons responsible for the MNIB, that is, those who are under investigation. The commission statement also says that the inquiry will involve the full commission. Rupert Agostini is a member of the commission, and he was the auditor for the MNIB during the period under investigation. This is a clear conflict of interest, and Chairman Trotman Joseph acknowledged this conflict in the press conference mentioned above. She assured the public that Mr. Agostini had already recused himself. The commission, therefore, needs to quickly clarify these two conflicting statements. The NDC is ever conscious of the hardship Grenadians face in terms of lack of adequate health care, with dilapidated schools and other public facilities, and the need for something or strengthening of the social safety net programs. Therefore, we will object to any more wastage of public funds. Some of the terms of reference of the Commission of Inquiry seem rather superfluous. For instance, Sections 8, 13, 14, and 17 of the MNIB law say clearly what the roles and responsibilities of the board and management are. Why then does the commission need to expend resources to determine this very question? The terms of reference seem to be unduly long-winded. The NDC urges the government not to waste taxpayers' money on a lengthy investigation in which the public will lose interest. Focus on the real issue of mismanagement and corruption in the MNIB under the watch of Keith Mitchell and his hand-picked CEO. Don't use our scarce resources to help Mitchell clear his name. The MNIB was set up to find markets for local produce as a means of helping small farmers. Today, some farmers refuse to sell their produce to the MNIB because they fetch better prices, marketing and selling on their own. It will be good to uncover why farmers are not being paid or are being paid late, and why some complained of receiving bounced checks for their produce. It points to serious financial mismanagement, and the Commission's findings in this regard must not be hidden from the people. This is why the NDC insists that not only should the hearings be public, but the findings must also be published. All right? Okay. I'm reading this stuff now. Okay. Margaret says there is distortion on your audio. We're not peaking here, Margaret, so I'm not sure why. Anyhow, Osmond Lewis is saying good morning to you guys. Kipling Francis says, I'm advocating for a change to a common saying. No one is above the law. It should be changed to what is now reality. Fitzroy Adams says, good morning. Arthur is saying good morning to you guys as well. Lawrence Kruthoff says he's now back at home in Granbrough, watching and listening. And Claude Pudna is saying good morning to the class. Well, I'll tell you what, it's 15 minutes after the hour, and I did promise that we would try to get Mr. B on in time. And right now, I want you to very quickly watch this video. It's a video making the rounds on social media, which shows the erosion that is taking place at Mount Rodney in St. Patrick. It's one of those beaches where sun mining had been a common occurrence. A renowned biologist warned 3 years ago that if that continued, severe erosion would be the result. And apparently, the breakwater which had been created has had a negative effect on the beach. So right now, take a look at this video, which was shot by one Mr. Wilson.
We are now looking at part of the beachfront in Mount Rodney, St. Patrick's. It's eroding rapidly, and the process started some 2 years ago. Who knows how far the sea would reach. Since every year around this time, the beach continued to be damaged, eroded, and the sand continued to be shifted from one part of the beach to another. You're looking at the Sotter's tongue. The beach at this point is no different to the beach about 100 yards further up towards the tongue of Sotter's. Presently, the sea is no more than 40 feet at its narrowest point. No more than 40 feet away from the main road. The only main road that leads to Davie Prospect and beyond. Somebody should take a look at that. Within another 2 years, the sea would be right here. Right here. And the obvious reasons are it's because the coconut palm trees that you are looking at, they cause a big problem. Because whenever the sea comes up and remove the sand from the beachfront, coconut tree would fall, and in doing so bring down or truckloads of sand with it. So this is something that we got to look at. The sea is coming in rapidly and quickly. The road is right there, as you can see. No more than 40 feet from the narrowest point. Can you imagine what would happen if the sea is really in the road? Who would want that to happen? Nobody. So, as a good Samaritan, I'm taking that video and I will pass it on. Hopefully, somebody will take note and decide to do something about it. Today is October the 9th, 2019. Process, as I say, started about 2 years ago, and it continues. Who knows how far that sea will reach? That's all for now.
Alrighty, folks, you've seen it yourselves. You have seen it yourselves. Sad stuff. Agatha Jordan says it's going to take less than 2 years to reach the roads. And John Bruno says, we're doing a great job in fighting the impacts of climate change. Well, he's also asking, where's the Minister of Climate Resilience? Let me tell you something, when I saw this video, it really bugged me. And I have now arranged to go out to the site tomorrow. Not only are we going to shoot footage similar to what you just saw, but we also hope to do some aerial footage and put together a little package to share with you on Sunday morning, on the next edition of Sundays with George Grant. Okay? So, be sure to watch that. Now, take a look. There he is. Good morning, Mr. Bierzynski.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Sound levels okay?
Yes, your levels are okay. And I love the color of your shirt.
I am always paranoid about the sound quality whenever I come onto your program.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's so far this morning, it seems okay. Okay. So, are you dry, nice and dry inside? Because I see it's raining a lot out there this morning.
Yeah, we've had some heavy showers fairly constantly, but it's we're enjoying a little period of dryness right now. When I say dryness, there's no rain falling.
Okay.
It's pretty soggy outside.
Yeah, and very overcast. So what's up your sleeve this morning, Mr. B?
Well, before I get into what I want to speak about, it blows me away that you people living in St. George's consider that this business about Mount Rodney is news. I have spoken about this before. We've raised the issue in the context of the environmental impact assessment study that ought to have been done, and the remarkable statement made by the Minister of Finance at the time, who is still the same Minister of Finance, by the way, that there was no study done, and in any event, they had to move quickly, and words to that effect, and that he takes responsibility for it. Well, if he volunteered the fact that he was taking responsibility for it 2 years, 3 years ago, then clearly he is the gentleman to whom all concerns should now be addressed. So don't waste your time going and take aerial footage and all of that. Everybody knows what's going on there. Now, the opposite side of it is, given the impact of the breakwater, which could have easily been anticipated, the sand has been scoured away from one side of the bay and deposited at the other side. The proof of that, and I have driven there, but I haven't attended any entertainment events there, the most recent of which is it's called Breakwater Beach. And I think either the last event or an upcoming event there is a Miss Bikini competition. So clearly at the opposite end of the bay, they are experiencing the benefits, which is presumably why they voted for Tony Bosin. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but it allows me to segue into mental health. Not that I'm questioning the mental health of the people who voted for Tony Bosin, again, but mental health in general. And what brought that up is looking at the reports featuring the Commissioner of Police in Trinidad and Tobago, Gary Griffith, who enjoys being in front of the television cameras. And he was describing the bust after many months of investigation and the fact that he has to look into possible negligence by certain police officers. All very exciting, of course, because he has termed the activities at the Transformational Life Ministries as being akin to human trafficking, and said it's actually modern-day slavery. Well, that was all very exciting when it first came out. And the conditions under which these modern-day slaves were being kept in cages, and that they had the recovered handcuffs and tasers, and there were allegations of torture. I mean, it's really shocking reports. And then you had, this was at 5:30 a.m. or something like that, because they had started their raid after midnight. But then you had further reports which have been circulating with interviews of people both for and against. For example, some relatives of those who had family members at the rehabilitation center. I posted a link on your WhatsApp group to the Transformation Life Ministries TNT. They've been operating for 19 years at this location. I'm sure they're doing excellent work. The testimonials from family members who are paying upwards of 4,000 TT dollars a month for housing family members they don't wish to have around them are quite glowing. They've always been able to see their family members when they need to. And these staff member was also interviewed and said that the conditions under which these people are housed are no different to that in the asylum at St. Anne's. Because for those of them who won't behave, then they have to restrain them. And she resists the characterization of these holding cells as being akin to cages. The fact that there's steel bars in front of, instead of doors, and padlocks instead of bolts, seems to have escaped her understanding of what a cage really is. Nevertheless, there were some other members of the public who were just like Grenadians when a camera is placed in front of them, gave long and interesting opinions as to what was going on there and what wasn't going on there. So here we are once again faced with the same set of facts, but different conclusions as to what is going on at the Transformation Life Ministry in Arouca. Now, mental health is a serious issue, and it would appear that the residents at this rehabilitation center have now been transported in 2 police transports to St. Anne's, where there will be additional difficulties, because the question arises, since this was not a registered mental health facility, but a rehabilitation center, presumably using the Bible as the main tool of rehabilitation, the question arises as to whether these persons in need of rehabilitation, when they go to the mental health facility, whether or not a proper, well, there will be no clinical record to determine what their particular complaints are. It's going to be an unholy mess when they get to St. Anne's. It would appear, and this is, I think, unfortunately endemic in the Caribbean, in the area of mental health, where people are not able to access professional help, then they are subject to detention, torture, I would say, both physical and mental, by people who claim to be inspired by the word of God as written in the King James Version of the Bible, or maybe even newer versions. And when that doesn't work, you then call in these charlatans parading as exorcists who come to beat the demons out of them. Now, in the rural areas of Trinidad, I am certain that there must be demons roaming the countryside at night. We have all grown up with the stories about La Jablesse, Sukuya, why you really don't want to pass by a silk cotton tree at night. So these are the types of communities from which the occupants, the residents, the people who were restrained, and the commissioner talked about slavery, but the question arises as to whether or not these people were detained against their will or with the willing acquiescence of the families who, as it appears, were paying 4,000 TT dollars a month or more for the privilege of having them housed in this transformation life ministry. Now, does human trafficking come into it? I don't know. Were these people perhaps not necessarily in need of restraint and detention, and that they were kept there merely to ensure that the revenue stream from the families continued? Lots of questions will arise. And clearly, what we heard from the Commissioner of Police in the original TV interviews following the raid constitute only one small part of a much bigger story. And I think the bigger story has to do with how we treat with mental health issues in our societies. What facilities do we have available for the treatment of mental health problems? How do families interact with the providers of mental health treatment? All of this requires discussion, and we're not getting anywhere when the media gives, in my view, an unhealthy amount of attention to a self-promoting, gung-ho, law and order promoter of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and then just puts unfiltered on television the views of members of the general public who, based on what many of them have said, do not have the full facts available to them, but everybody has merely done what a certain Calypsonian does. They pick it up and run with it. Done.
Okay, no, you're not, because Margaret has a comment here. She says, another question is where these people at this TLM so-called mental health facility qualified to provide these services. Also, the state had removed its clients from that facility and discontinued funding a few years ago. So why did they not close the facility or issue a cease and desist order read these services?
Again, these are questions that should be addressed to the authorities in Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, Margaret.
But bear in mind, I don't know that it was ever supposed to be a mental health facility. It was a transformational life ministry to minister to the needs of individuals who had served sentences in different custodial institutions. But clearly an opportunity presented itself for families to get rid of troublesome family members or those whom they didn't wish to have any further dealings with.
Okay. Are you saying, AB, that the involvement of a church is really not that relevant in this particular case?
I don't know that. You see, it is easy to blame the church, in quotation marks. But remember that we have politicians who issue licenses to individuals. And those licenses are literally a license to prey on the unsuspecting. you can, I think if you have you can prove you have a congregation of 6 or 8 or whatever it is. It could be just you and your family. And you can apply for a license and you set up a church. So this individual, 19 years ago, the pastor, he became a pastor after having a life-changing experience in prison and came out and decided, hey, you know, I could make money out of this. And he set up the Transformation Life Ministry. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But I don't know that it was ever really intended to be a church. It was a rehabilitation center.
Anthea Rello is saying here, she says, sounds like the church was used as a front, more than likely.
Yeah, again, I don't know, but I hesitate to characterize it as a church.
Okay, I want to ask you one more question on this particular issue before we move on. I noticed a little while ago, you didn't seem too impressed with the Commissioner of Police in Trinidad and Tobago. And that's on what basis?
I didn't seem to what, sorry?
You didn't seem too impressed. I mean, I think you described him as self-promoting.
Oh, yes, yes. I mean, we've seen him on TV where he goes on and on and on and on. At one time, he was on the scene of a drug bust in some residential area or whatever, in full battle dress and all of that. And from time to time has been known to say that his men are fighting a war and that the criminals have firepower, so therefore the police are going to have superior firepower.
Yeah.
All of that may be true. All of that may be true, but it seems to me that this is a matter for the Minister of National Security to bring in the army, because I'm not sure how the police who are supposed to be there to protect and serve, I'm not sure what the motto of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is, but it seems to me that there clearly are some situations, unless they intend to have a completely paramilitary police. It seems to me that there are situations where the army should be brought in. I think in Jamaica, for example, there are some areas where a limited state of emergency is declared, and perhaps both army and police go in. But I don't think that the police service ought to be outfitted as though they're going into battle.
Okay.
If you have a battleground, call the army, and you declare the state of emergency, which will allow the army to be deployed, and God help those who are on the receiving end. I don't think police should be exposed to battle situations with criminals who are funded by drug dealers and allegedly by corrupt politicians as well. Certainly that was the case in Jamaica in the bad old days.
And I think the Trinidad Commissioner some time ago suggested that politicians are largely responsible for some of the crime that's taking place in Trinidad. Final comment here from Margaret. Margaret says, George, that a church was running such a facility is not an issue for me. However, it should be subjected to the same regulations that other non-religious facilities are subjected to.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
The issue of oversight is what needs to be brought to the fore. But let me say then that the families, we don't know whether certain family members made reports or made complaints. We do know in passing, we found this out in passing, that the commissioner has to investigate whether or not reports were made over a period of time and the police in the area chose not to act.
Okay.
So I guess there'll be more information forthcoming.
All right.
We know, for example, that when investigations take place here, that it does appear that the police choose not to act. because we are waiting for certain investigations. As simple as, did the bus that go over the sidewalk at the carnage and has been recovered, did it have brakes or not? Did anybody pick up the brakes that were allegedly lost on Yonge Street near the marketing board? How long does it have to take to determine whether or not the brakes fell out?
We love investigations, AB. All right, Mr. B.
What about the investigation into how what do you call somebody who has been charged but not yet convicted? Anyway, his travel documents were surrendered, but he was able to get a new passport and leave the country within 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, yeah.
That was reported in the press.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Remember, our newspapers come out once a week. So by the time it was reported in the press, the police had enough time to investigate it. How much investigating do you really need to do to find out the circumstances under which a passport was issued?
Yeah, yeah. Investigation is a word which we have become obsessed with, Mr. Bierzynski. Okay, moving right along, AB, you know, we have to make some room for the national report. I don't think you would want to infringe on their time whatsoever. But I have to ask you this. You know that the negotiations between the unions and government are in full swing now. Did you see a release that was issued by the government day before yesterday saying that the talks were deadlocked?
I didn't see the release, but it was reported on. And I saw the response from the other side expressing surprise that there was a deadlock because they had both attended the same meeting. So once again, you have two people on opposite sides in the same place, and they come out with differing versions of what took place. So one side said the talks are deadlocked, and the other side says, what are you talking about? They're not.
Actually, they went as far as to say, hey, how could you say they're deadlocked? The talks just began.
Beats me.
Okay.
But it does raise the question as to whether or not any of the parties are in fact negotiating in good faith.
Yeah. You know, I tried as recently as last night to get comments from the union and still was not able to, other than what I saw on television last night. But I am going to continue trying today, and hopefully on Sunday morning, we're going to make that part of one of our features.
Well, I want to make the point that prior to them sitting down on the 8th of October, that the unions put out a full-page release, and the tone in there, accusing the government of blackmail, accusing the government of making ridiculous proposals, and seems to me that that does not provide the background for sitting down across the table to engage in any meaningful discussion.
You know, as
you have a certain opinion, fine, but when you put it out in the public domain, you are, as the saying goes, you're drawing lines in the sand, and to me, that doesn't suggest that you are going to get very far in negotiations.
the same goes with the demand that I'm seeing from the unions. I think they're asking 25% over the period of time. And you, sir, as a former chief executive officer or managing director of the largest company on this island, what did you think of that 25% demand?
Forget my former position. As somebody who hopefully has some common sense, My question would be, how do you expect in 3 years to get a 25% increase in payments from central government? Do you see something going on in the economy that the rest of us don't see? Where does government derive money from? From economic activity, which should be taxed. But if the policy of government is to provide concessions and the base on which taxes are levied is not increasing or expanding, where is 25% more in emoluments going to come from?
Mm-hmm. You know,
so that is just, to my mind, that is just common sense.
I think it's also based on the expectation that has been put in the minds of the Grenadian people. We hear about this booming economy. You know, well, if things are booming so much, let it boom in our direction.
We all know that all this booming that is taking place is the stuff of calypsos. It's only in calypsos you're hearing about all of this booming taking place.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Because there is no economic data to suggest that this economy is in fact, I'm going to resist saying the word again.
Booming. Mr. Bierzynski, thank you very much, sir. I got to make way for the GIS. You have a great day. Stay dry.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
And let's go directly now to the National Report.
Grenada and People's Republic of China signed letters of exchange for cricket stadium renovation project. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Wednesday, October 9th, I am Rikisha St. Louis. As much as 30 million EC dollars will be spent to renovate the National Cricket Stadium in 2020. While it is a shared responsibility, most of the cost will be borne by the People's Republic of China, which signed letters of exchange with Grenada on Wednesday.
This is the second signing. The first signing was for the athletic stadium. That was already completed. And the engineers are already here. I think we have 3 engineers. There are 8 engineers. They are already here. And they'll be here for 3 years, for a period of 3 years. And so this signing is for the cricket stadium now, which will also bring in more persons, more technical persons, more hands-on. This is going to be a much bigger activity than what we're doing with the athletic stadium. So the 18 years are already here. They've been here probably more than a month now, about 2 months. They have been here working.
Minister for Sports, Senator Norland Cox. He says another team will be brought in for the renovation work, which will look at a number of areas.
The renovation will cover general maintenance, the audio, the fire system, the emergency, the scoreboard, seating, practically everything, the roof, everything. Practically a general renovation in its entirety. Make sure elevators are working, everything. Everything will be looked at in its entirety throughout. So there was a walkthrough from a technical team from China together with a technical team from the Ministry of Works. That led to this document being prepared. So they know what is to be done.
Chinese Ambassador Dr. Zhao Yongchen describes the signing as a new step in cooperation between Grenada and China.
We will continue to support Grenada to develop economic and social development. So we hope we can make a close collaboration and cooperation in doing the new renovation of National Cricket Stadium.
Trainees enrolled under the government's New Hope program will be transitioned into permanent placement within the public and private sectors by year end. Government is currently working with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, to reshape the existing program. During Tuesday's weekly post-cabinet briefing, Youth Minister Senator Noland Cox says the program will be improved.
We are working towards reshaping the program. So bringing it to an end is basically bringing it to an end of what we have currently. And we are working on a new concept, a new approach. We have been having some discussion with various partners. We had a meeting recent as last week with the UNDP personnel to work with us to help flesh out a new approach and to provide some technical support for us to see how we can, not just the Hope, but also to see how we can improve on the MNIB program as well.
Minister Cox said the exit strategy seeks to ensure that no one is sent home, but instead will be transitioned smoothly into permanent jobs.
We're not talking about sending anybody home. The whole idea is to transition persons in different roles and responsibilities and to reshape the program to make it more focused. And hence the reason why I indicated initially those persons are performing critical roles. They are some of persons who are working with us currently with the Ministry of Sports in our community sports program. So a lot of it has to do with how they are engaged through the program. Let me just say this. One of the things that we recognize is that while we may have programs, there is always a need to see how we can improve. And that is one of the challenges that we are having with the Hope program, to see how we can improve on it and to make it more viable and to make it more focused on the initiatives that we want done.
If it becomes necessary, they may extend the deadline for closure.
While it is set to close off in December, if we don't have all the pieces in place between now and December, there might be a requirement for it to be extended for some time until we have that new approach, a new configuration of the program scheduled and ready to launch. So that is where we are.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
Grenada, it's coming as the Ministry of Youth, Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts brings to you National Youth Week 2019, and it's one full week of activities, vibes and action as the nation turns their attention on the nation's youth. And it's from Saturday, October 19 till Saturday, November 2nd under the theme Embracing Opportunities, Sowing Higher. October 19th and 20th, National Community Service Weekend, island-wide. October 26th, Health Walk and Ministers Address. October 27th, Ecumenical Service and Peace Concerts. October 28th, Youth Vibe. October 29th, St. John's Youth Parliament. October 30th, Job Fair and Career Day. October 31st, Fun Nights. November 1st, Discovering Talents and Expo. And on November 2nd, it's National Youth Awards. So urging everyone to be a part of Youth Week 2019, October 19th to November 2nd.
Welcome back. Harnessing the value of soursop to the economy, the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands is improving its approach, geared at increasing production of the crop. One of such approaches is a 4-day workshop which opened in St. George's on Tuesday. We get more in this Mina Booker report.
The workshop is part of a 6-day field mission by Dr. Abel Ray Bucas, the international consultant for the Food and Agriculture Organization, the organization that has been supporting development of the soursop value chain here. During the 4-day workshop, participants, which include soursop farmers, extension officers, and exporters, along with other representatives of the sector, would be exposed to areas such as botany of the family, varieties, propagation of soursop from seed, land preparation and planting, water management, and pruning practices.
We attach enormous importance to this workshop, and we believe it is one of the things that we believe we could support farmers out there and to sharpen the skill and to provide much more technical assistance. I think coming out of that workshop, we want to see to what extent we can have maybe good recommendation with respect to fertility management. What is the best fertilizer, when, and all this timing and all these things would be very, very important.
That's Chief Agricultural Officer Mr. Daniel Lewis. Grenada's soursop industry has the advantage of being the only country that can export the fruit in its fresh form to the United States, and the forum is one where farmers can reacquaint themselves with good practices associated with propagating and maintaining the crop. Facilitator of the course, Dr. Abel Rebukas, said that the training will also expose participants to new trends in the sector.
I think this project is very important for the farmers, also for technicians in the country, because we have many new technologies that we can apply nowadays in the soursop production. So we have to teach them, the people that are interested in these soursop technologies, new technologies, in order to get higher yield and also better fruit quality, in order to offer to the consumer in the country and also for export purposes, to export fruits of good quality. And also, do you help the country, do you help Grenada producers to put good fruit in the market and use better this market that is increasing all over the world.
Assistant Agricultural Extension Officer attached to the Western Agricultural District, Mr. Gavin Campbell, explains how he would be able to incorporate the information into his field.
Well, actually, I can benefit to disseminating information to the farmers that grow soursop particular. I can boost their production and increase their yields and get good return for the crop. As the day and days continue, I hope I could learn new techniques I can pass on to farmers.
Farmer Raphael Sylvester also believes that the workshop can help them to increase their soursop production.
I think it will offer us the benefit in terms of how to get a better yield from what we normally and how we normally produce, and how we could go about in terms of fostering the production in terms of for commercial reasons and benefits. And I think we could get a lot more from it in terms of what we will see and hear, that is what is happening in other countries.
The workshop continues on Thursday with a field day and wraps up on Friday. For the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, I am Mina Buka.
That story just brought the curtains down on the national report for Wednesday, October 9th. Let's recap the top story. Grenada and the People's Republic of China signed letters of exchange for cricket stadium renovation project. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Alrighty, folks. Yes, sirree. We're going to pull the curtain down right now on this rainy Thursday morning with a parting word from the Holy Scriptures. Matthew chapter 10, 26 to 31. So do not be afraid of them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the rooftops. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Pilgrims, Matthew chapter 10, 26 to 31. All right, let's see here. Okay. All right, folks, time to hightail it out of here. I thank you for joining me. I certainly hope you stay dry. I hope you took along an umbrella this morning, probably a raincoat as well. And by God's grace, let's get together again tomorrow morning. God bless you, my friends.